Hi, today you're watching Today's Issues, and of course, I'm Monique Flowers, and today I have sitting at my table Miss Amber. She's co-hosting today, and I got two of my favorite guys, state reps, State Rep Ed Gainey and State Rep Jake Wheatley. I'm so happy you're here with us today. Now, we were supposed to have both our councilmen, Daniel Lavelle and Ricky Burgess, but I'm sorry to say, they couldn't make it. So anyway, we're gonna have a lot of hot topics and have a great discussion about what's going on in our community in our city of Pittsburgh. So today I see that we're just gonna get it started off. I'm gonna let you say something, State Rep Ed, about who do you serve? What district do you serve?
First of all, Monique, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Amber, good seeing you as always. Glad you got my mind here. Jake Wheatley, you know what I mean? First, we should congratulate him on the wonderful weekend he had. His
Health and Wellness Weekend.
No, what year?
Third year.
Third year of his health and wellness program. It was a smashing success. I heard from a couple people, one here today, Venord, how they had a great time running. So we want to say thank you for all you do for the community.
Thanks.
I represent the East End from Garfield, parts of Highland Park, all of Highland Park, parts of Stan Heights, East Liberty, Lincoln Lumber, Belmar, Homewood, East Hills, all of Wilkinsboro, North Point Breeze, part of Point Breeze, part of Friendship, and a small part of Shadyside.
Hey, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah. So that's. So you're in there. So we got State Rep Jake Wheatley. So happy that you're here. And what part do you represent? Because I always make sure that y'all say which part that city that you represent, so the people can know.
Sure. Again, I want to say thank you for having me here, and thank you, Amber, for having me on the show again. I represent the 19th Legislative District, which includes the Hill District, downtown, parts of South and West Oakland, Hazelwood, Belsuver, Knoxville, Arlington Heights. Go over to the north side where, I said uptown and north side communities like Manchester's, Mexican War Street, Allegheny West, Fine View, Brighton Heights, Brightwood, Marshall Shadeland.
So y'all are the city guys.
Yeah.
Y'all are the city guys. So y'all represent mostly the city of Pittsburgh. Right. So we got the state representatives here for the city of Pittsburgh, and that's great to have y'all come collectively at the table to discuss our issues. And I just moved to Mount Oliver.
Okay.
I'm winking.
Okay. Depends on what street you live. You might be my resident. Or,
okay, well, I'm just letting you know. Just letting you know. So it's a nice side of town. I really like it over there. So anyway, we want to get our discussion going on about also some of the positive things that are going on. Now I know that this summer you gave away a lot of book bags, which you had your back to school book bag drive, and I know you gave like about 1,000 book bags out to your community and to the kids. And in the book bags was stuff. It was stuff. I know y'all was counting crayons and pencils and everything. And my boy JD was over there helping you out. And a lot of people Mo in your office helping you getting them book bags together. So tell me a little bit about how that went.
The book bag is really just a carrot. The key was to connect children with organizations that help with, whether it's in tutoring, after school homework, even if they need some social services. It was to connect the child to things that will help them succeed throughout the school year. So you want to have a book bag drive because you know that the parents will come out. And then the second part was partnering. I don't believe in doing anything individually. I think you should partner and collaborate where you can. So Destiny International Ministries, under the leadership of Pastor Mike, Family Support Center with Sheila Beasley, we all came together to do it. So it was really like three organizations. Yeah. From the north side, so
north side,
north side girl. So it was really three, me, and two other organizations to come together to really do it. So we had a great day. We gave out over 1,000 book bags, and we signed a lot of kids up for mentoring, after school program. And it also, the information that we have inside was twofold. One, we got to talk about the budget and why it's important for pre-K education, and why we need to push for pre-K education. And what I tell the parents is look inside, just don't throw it away, but look inside, because at the end of the day, you're going to need these services, particularly when it comes to education. So to me, it's another way of being able to feed the community more than a book bag of food, but knowledge.
Right, and that's the biggest thing. We want the community to feel comfortable coming out, but I love to have our state reps and council people and just people in the community in this whole to come out. You know what I mean? It's good when they see your face, you know, because they know when you're in Harrisburg, you fighting for them.
He also just did, I think a week ago, we was down the Coliseum. He did
My senior fair.
his senior fair for the
Senior
elders
fair,
of the
okay.
community. On,
I know
in
you
his
post a lot of
district.
pictures.
He gave
So
away.
I seen all the
I
pictures and
posted
it looked
them.
like,
He gave away 2 flat screen TVs, a lot of stuff to the elderly. Got the elderly to come out.
so you had a big turnout.
Yeah, we had over 400, approximately about 438. But the key again is connecting with information. So again, we had people talk about the budget.
Right.
We had Health and Human Services here from all over the city. We gave a lot of good information away. The one thing that we focused on this year is identity theft. We understand that a lot of our seniors have been taken because of identity
man,
theft.
yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that we had somebody speak to it, let them know, because they starting to get on the computers now or on their phone.
They were like, they're trying to give me
Right.
$5,000.
Right, you
Next
gotta-
thing you know, they done gave all the information away.
Right,
Grandma,
right.
don't do that.
Right, so you got to be cautious. So it was to
Right.
let them know. But the key is, and Jake will elaborate on this, it's really about the budget
Right.
and being able to inform them what's going on with the budget. Because as programs begin to get hit, there's 2 people that get hit the most, and that's the elderly and our youth.
And our youth.
So in order to tie that together, you have to do something to be able to provide them with information.
Right. And you also, State Representative Jake Wheatley, you also did something this summer towards the end with your health and wellness. I know you had a lot of people that came out, and you also gave some things away.
Sure. Well, we do our annual health and wellness weekend, which is in its 3rd year of operation, and we build it around the.
So where do you give it at? Where's it at?
It's housed at the Hill, but it's housed in the Hill District, but it's meant to be for all of my constituents from all across the 19th district. And so we really try to reach out to other neighborhoods because, you know, there's always these boundaries, these artificial boundaries where we don't cross into other people's neighborhood. And the only reason we do it in the Hill District is just more affordable for us to house it in the Hill District.
So as a North
Those
Sider,
are kind of neutral grounds too.
It's neutral.
It's essential.
As central we can get. Downtown would be where we would ultimately want to go, but
don't
it's
put it downtown.
$10,000
There's
to be
enough
at the
downtown.
Point Park, and
What?
we can't afford
In the
that.
Market Square, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
we can't afford
2,000
that.
in Market
But,
Square. We go, hey, y'all gotta start talking to your peoples and get us down there. Because I'm
But,
pretty sure that the North Side, you should try to figure out if you can give it on North Side one day.
Well, one of the things as we evolved in this thinking, because for 13 years we've been doing a thing called Community Appreciation Day, which is what is up at Kennard Field, which is our big event for the weekend. And what we're going to be doing, I think, as we evolve it, is to try to figure out ways to link into some of the city parks. So that leading up to our health and wellness weekend, we do a series of events that are like getting people thinking about being healthier in their community. Because this year we also partnered with some churches and UPMC. They had this weight challenge that they had to participate in churches to
The
participate.
60-day challenge.
The 60-day challenge.
I
And
did about 2 days. I'm sorry, y'all.
they announced some winners at our at our weekend. So what we were thinking about is maybe next year start in our various communities and say, look, would you all want to be a part of a health challenge?
So who was the winner of your 60-day challenge? Which church won?
The church that won was Wesley Center AME.
Woo-hoo!
Is that your church?
Is that my church?
That's
Wesley
Pastor,
Center? That makes Zion with Reverend Glenn Grayson won.
Yes, they did a great job. They won the
They
health
only
challenge.
did 2
Okay.
days. I mean, I was trying to like cake and cookies and stuff, you know. So that went over great.
Yeah.
So they won.
So, but the whole genesis of the weekend though is really around the 5 pillars, like I was trying to say, and it's really creating physical health,
Right.
mental health or spiritual health, environmental health, as well as financial health. And we hope that people got access to some form of things that they need, depending upon where they are, to help
So you
them
have a lot of
become healthy.
information. You're getting a lot of information out there. When we do, I know you be out there all the time, Amber, running all around, taking
I didn't
pictures.
attend his event because actually I forgot about it, but I had intentions on going. But
forgot
I
about
take a break. Yeah, I gotta take a break sometime.
Yeah, you gotta re-energize.
I'm running around with Ed everywhere Ed's at. I'm there, so you know I'm tired.
Did somebody win a check? Did you give away a check?
Well, we give away a $500 bill payment.
What? Who'd I go to?
I don't know.
Let me find. Was it you, Mo?
You have to be a resident.
We
You have to be a resident of the 19th district to win.
It ain't gonna be, I know that.
But
Oh, you got got to be a resident.
You have to be a resident of the neighborhood to win. But we gave away a lot of other stuff,
Yeah,
iPads, televisions. We really had a youth focus this year, so we had a lot of our youth entertainment because this year's theme
What sorority you had her this year? I know last year you had like a little sorority step thing.
Yeah, we didn't do that this year.
Okay.
This year it was all built around celebrating life because we see so much violence, so much death in our neighborhoods,
Absolutely.
and especially around our kids, that we really wanted to do things that celebrated our life, that affirms us as human beings. So this year we partnered with the Center of Life. They have a wonderful entertainment program. They had those kids up there, they were on fire. We had a young man, Shylin Abrams, who's a blind, he's very talented. He's like the next elevation of Stevie Wonder.
Did he go to Obama?
He's in
Obama.
Well, he's at Kappa.
He's at Kappa.
a straight A student at Kappa, but him and his band, they tore it up. I mean, we
Yeah,
it
okay.
was a great
I've heard of him. I thought he went to Obama, and then we was talking about, you just mentioned like the violence, and we had a lot of violence going on within the last couple of days and even yesterday. How do you feel about just getting out there, showing your face when these things happen, like being more out there, to show that like I'm your step rep.
I care about what's going on in the community.
Yeah, and knowing the hill.
Yeah, I take a different approach. I've been doing this since 2002, and before that I was working for a city councilman for a couple years, and it seems like we get more energy for the protest part of it and less energy for the work that's required to change the institutions, the systems. Yeah, and what we've tried to do, what I at least have tried to do is, I'm supportive of rallies. I'm going to support the rallies. I'm going to support those who want to be on the camera, but I can't. For all the death that we see in our neighborhoods, we will be having a television program every night to try to raise the awareness. I think the awareness is there. What we need to have is an actual plan of action to address it. And this is why I go into that 5 pillars thing, because we know economic reasons that drive conditions to commit violence. We know there are psychological, mental, behavior issues that have been unaddressed that are driving the cycles of violence. We know that there are physical reasons why people engage in violence. So all these things require us to work actively to try to address them structurally.
So I know State Rep Ed Gainey, you're always out, like if something happens and giving back. I know you had, sometime like last year, you had put together with other members like, like state reps, and you had the new chief of police, you had the mayor, Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald. Y'all came here. I was going to do a collective, like maybe meet once a month to talk about some of the issues that y'all had, just not in the city of Pittsburgh, but like Wilkinsburg and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was a couple things going on. But then, the mayor and them, they started their task force downtown. I think the other day they had their press conference to reintroduce the PERK program. But it's really twofold, this violence. The first one is you have to show up, because at the end of the day, it's the only time that they see real leadership. And leadership is not in a person, it's in the community.
Right.
And I think a lot of times where we fail is that we think that one person is the leader. I am not the leader. And I'm not in a hurry to be a leader. What I'm hurried to be is a part of a leadership team that talks about what we have to do to eradicate violence and promote more peace. I think we promote more violence by saying stop the violence instead of increasing the peace.
So you think sometimes all of that, like, I know they like to do their visuals and they like to do their marches, but if we see that like every day, all day, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
to
I
me,
think
it's like
stop
promoting
doing
it.
that. No one's really, now it's to a point where everybody, because I'm involved when it comes with stopping the violence in the community on the east side or wherever I'm needed, whether it's in your district. I've spoken places in your district. I'm the CIS program on the Hill. But I think that part stopped. Everybody right now is to a point we need an action. We can't depend on, and this is just coming from me, we can't depend on the mayor. We can't depend on the chief of police. None of them can save our neighborhoods. Right. Only one that can save our hoods is us.
And us being
those
more.
of us that been there, and with the leadership of this guy, Ed Gainey, and the community of coming together, we need to come together collectively and come up with some rec centers.
Everybody, because
and jobs.
Yeah, and jobs, and it's more.
Jobs is hurting us.
And so more or less. we got stuff going on in our communities. We got these, reorganizing and building. We got new homes, new businesses coming along, and we have certain, people making these decisions about our communities as far as employment. I think that's important to get these young kids working.
If
And we
we
got
build
these
with
other
something.
sectors out here coming into our communities
And not
building-
providing
and not-
jobs
and not
for
providing
our
jobs.
community, and
we
that's a
also-
big issue.
And some, certain people got to step up, especially our council people. But I'm gonna run this clip on some of the things that's going on, stated by Ricky Burgess, and you can run that.
Give you money and resources to rebuild your own community. They want to steal the land so they can displace you from their community and drop a South Side Works type of property in low and moderate income communities. It's absolutely what they're trying to do. That's why the plan was done by carpetbaggers. The people who have nothing to do with vacant land wrote the piece of legislation. The people that have nothing to do, their land, their properties, their council districts have almost none of this property. They did not include us. They did not participate with us. They did not ask for our participation. They wrote it. They dropped it without you and without me. Why? Because they want to steal our land. I will not let that happen. Not as long as I'm standing.
So that was City Council, Ricky Burgess, at a town hall meeting at Central Baptist in the Hill District, addressing some of the issues with the land banking and certain sectors coming into our communities, and basically giving us what they think that we should have in our communities, and not making it affordable, and not making it sustainable for our old business and everything like that. But when we come back, we're going to see what our state rep, Ed Gainey, has to say about that. And we'll be right back with today's issues. So much for tuning in, everyone, and checking me out at Monique Flyers in Foreman, Pittsburgh. Thank you so much.
You're informed. You trying to inform
And
me.
we back with today's issues with Amber, State Representative Ed Gainey, and State Representative Jake Whitley, my two favorite people. These are the brothers who's running the city.
Right?
So what we just watched was Ricky Burgess addressing the issue on the land banking and how he was so against on basically not voting for the land banking and coming into communities and basically telling us what they're going to build and how they're going to build it and how much it is and opportunities in our community. So how do you feel about that?
That's how Ricky sees it. That's fine. Here's the reality. We as a community focus too much on the problem and not the promise. We should understand that we should want the conflict so we can get to a victory. And I think one of the things that dominate our community more than anything that we as a community need to work on, and if we worked on it, we would eliminate a lot of the issues that we have today, and that's to eradicate poverty, period, across the board. Right. Me and Representative Wheatley talk about this a lot, particularly in the Lonely Caucus, what we have to do to eradicate poverty. And there's a couple pillars that I'll talk about real briefly, then I'll turn it over. One is employment. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we need more jobs. I don't have a problem asking for jobs from my community. Mm-hmm. We were in a meeting the other day, and I told them if my organizations can't see the fruit of any labor financially, then I can't support the plan. Mm-hmm. The reality of the situation is this: when we talk about jobs, we only have altogether 5 elected officials that represent Allegheny County at a citywide level, okay. Compared to maybe about 30 to 35, and I might be off on my math, Caucasians. So for me, everybody ask the mayor or the county exec for things, but if there's only 5 of us, of course I'm gonna ask for more than 3 or 4 things because I feel I deserve it. Right. I feel my community deserves it. We don't have enough numbers to be able to say, can we ask individually? That's the power of asking collectively. Right. So for me, I have no problem as part of a prong of eradicating poverty, asking for jobs in public works, contracts for African Americans, or anything else. I think that's needed. That's one pillar. The second pillar is education. Right. Until we really talk about education, there's no reason that when you put the overlap of incarceration versus education in certain zip codes from here to Philadelphia, they're in our community. We need to be talking about that and how we empower education. We need to be talking about getting away from the war on drugs. It's not a question of whether we have a drug market. We definitely have a drug market. We have a drug market in the United States. You cannot stop the drug war until you stop the drug trade, and we can't stop the drug trade. So at the end of the day, we're going to have a drug war. So the fact that we have a market, I don't know if you want to regulate the market or deregulate the market, but we have witnessed what comes with deregulation of the market. At some level, we have to talk about regulating some things in order to get justice for the African American, Latino, and communities of color. If not, we're going to continue down this cycle. And then the fourth one is political power. The political power in this region, a lot of things fall on me and Jake and Daniel and Ricky, but let me be honest with you. Let's look at it. This is the most lopsided political power system I've ever seen in my life. You got 2 African-American state reps, no African-American state senator, never had an African-American state senator from Western Pennsylvania. And if you drew the lines from the Mon Valley to the north side, we would have opportunity. So it's not that the opportunity is not there, it's that we have not been able to empower it. The third thing is, look at the school board. They have 4 African-Americans on your school board, 4 African-Americans, but yet, and it's all the city of Pittsburgh, right? But yet you only have 2 African-Americans on city council. So you got 4 on school board, 2 on city council. Something's wrong with that picture.
And I think as far as when our council do come out and they represent us, and as far as talk to us in the community about certain things that's going on, like Councilman Ricky Burgess was talking about, like he will not stand for the land banking, and clearly he wasn't.
He's a part of the land banking.
He wasn't for it. Okay, so that's what he was saying. Okay, so let's roll the other clip on the second half of what Councilman Ricky Burgess said.
We're going to build the land bank. That's what you're going to we're going to build the land. That's nice. Where are you going? We're coming to Homeland First. Really? You are? You're coming to Homeland First. Okay, well, what are you going to do for the community? Well, where's the money to rebuild the community? Well, you have to trust us. Last time we trusted you, you took the Lori Hill and you dropped us in the arena.
You got that.
So what he was basically talking about is, we come and we ask, the entities, like, where's our money to help us build our communities, to get the jobs in our communities, to get the housing in our communities, the new housing and stuff like that. That's what he basically was saying. And basically he said, hey, you're not giving it. You're not giving us these funds. So he was strongly against it at this town hall meeting about 2 years ago. But I know when it comes time to vote, the vote didn't go. He didn't vote no. You know what I mean? He didn't,
he voted yes and for it.
So he said, he's talking about, so last time we trust you, look where we ended up at. So last time we trusted him,
Ricky Burgess, look where we stand.
Look where we stand.
When's the last time we seen him in a community?
And just on how things is going, as far as in our communities, like you said, with the violence, with the drugs and everything, I just think on that end, on his part, he's lacking, and he's talking about us trusting, and he wants his community to trust him. So I just wanted to play that and just let it know, like, sometimes we gotta, on that end, we gotta step our game up. If we say something, just
stand by.
Try to stand by it, because people are watching you.
So I wanted to try to give a broader picture, because it's similar things that have happened in my community, Hill District being one, with the Lower Hill opportunities that's happening with the Penguins. And what we have seen is it requires, Ed was right, there's a lot of pressure. People always look to their elected official, and primarily African Americans in this area look to Ed or me or Ricky or Daniel as their voice. Even if they're not in our district, they look to us as their voice. But in a political system, we elect a mayor, we elect a county executive, we influence the rest of council, the school board. We have more power than just the color of the skins of the people who look like us in those areas. So in the Hill District, it took people like Carl Redwood, Marimba Malyans, Bonnie Lane, and a whole host of other community activists who surrounded me and Daniel and said, literally, I'm saying, when, as a politician, we all want to make sure we're doing the best thing for our constituents, but we're in the room and we hear different things, so we play at a different level in some senses. So we might be trading things and trying to exchange things. But when your community surrounds you and says to you, you cannot trade this, because if you trade this, this is at the essence of what we're gonna cut you for, right? But if you don't have that, like if you don't have a pipeline, sometimes it's not convenient and it's not easy, that process, that communication. But if, first of all, if we come to the table and we all agree, we wanna get something for our community, right? You trust, because you elected me, that I'm going down there and I'm not gonna trade it away.
You're gonna be our voice.
But there is also a trust that you're not gonna abandon me, and you're not gonna be so stuck in, if I don't get this one thing, then you must have sold us out. We gotta have flexibility, but we have to have communication. And I think we're a breakdown.
And you say
we've been
communication,
sold
there is
out
no
a lot.
communication.
I mean, it's not to cut you off, but we've been sold out. And again, I'll say it again. We've been sold out by Ricky Burgess for a very long time in the Homewood community.
Sure.
He don't march with us. He don't walk with us.
He don't
when
talk
things
to
are
us.
going on, he doesn't talk to us. He doesn't acknowledge us. I've been in places where he's come in. Very seldom do he speak to the community. Basically, he wants nothing to do with the youth.
No,
And-
I don't
and
think
that's-
not the youth, just period. Like, please don't come to ask me no questions.
Right, he's in and out. He
You
just
know.
want to make himself seen
Yeah.
and to say and show face that he showed up.
Yeah.
When
That's not-
actuality,
but that's not stepping up to the plate and being accountable for some decisions. And I know you do have to play on a certain level.
I'm ready to run for city council.
Oh, dag.
Wow, we
Wow,
getting Ricky out of there by any means necessary.
That's what I'm talking about, you know what I mean?
We getting him out of there if I gotta do it.
This is today's issues, and this table is about coming together collectively with our state reps and being able to have this conversation, you know what I mean, to where we can talk about this. And,
Right.
and we can express and just say, like, I think that they got the short end of the stick as far as, with Councilman Ricky Burgess, you say one thing, but then you do another, and then we don't see you. So it's like,
And I'm out there in the community.
You know.
I've seen him for the first time. It adds senior
And that's-
fear.
and that's
the only
important.
reason why
That's important.
but the only reason why he was there is because he wants to show the elders that he's still around, because he wants their votes come election time. Because the youth want him out. And I'm not a youth. I'm 42 years old, but we want him out.
I mean, as far as if you're not working effectively for the community, and the community feels like this person, it could be anybody, is not, coming up to bat for us. They say one thing, they're doing another, and we really don't see them. And I talk about this all the time. We need to see you.
We just did a thing where we met with the U.S. Attorney. It was Ed's office,
Right.
myself, U.S. Attorney, the lady from the U.S. Attorney's office, the police chief. It was 35 of us invited. 34 showed up, and you asked me who was the person who didn't. I'm gonna just leave that right there.
Yeah, so we're just gonna leave that on the table. But like I said,
And we were
have
here
to
to
come out. We
discuss
have to
the
come out.
violence in the community, and we are coming together as a collective team
Right.
to put things together to stop the violence. And
there's
again, when it
nothing-
concerns violence,
Right.
Ricky
But there's
Burgess
nothing
ain't
better
there.
than being able, we can agree to disagree. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with coming to the table.
and I don't mean to put you guys, y'all elected officials on first.
but we having a
but
discussion. This is what we do with
and
today's
this is how I
issues.
feel.
And we just, we talk about today's issues and some of the concerns and that we have going on around our table. But when we come back, we'll be hitting a lot of more hot topics with the two guys from the city that got the plan. They said they got a plan.
We got the next mayor, Ed Davison, right here.
about
But
that.
stay right.
You gonna give me a
He
session,
just
man.
want to finish eating my cookies.
He gonna
But y'all
say
make sure
they
y'all
blow.
come back for part two.
Swap being in y'all.
following you. Oh, never mind.
And we're back with today's issues. I got my co-host girl, Amber, that's how I say her name, and State Representative Ed Gainey, and State Representative Jake Wheatley. Now, we were saying how important education is in our communities and stuff like that. So I know we have an issue as far as with the budget towards education. I see you got your beard going on.
That is my budget beard.
That's your budget beard?
I'm growing it out in hopes that we'll get a solution fairly soon before I
turn into Santa Claus.
Yeah, before it gets too rough. But we're right now 3 months past our budget deadline, primarily because I think Governor Wolf has come in and he's really tried to address the mandate that he was elected on, which was the last 4 years under Corbett, we didn't invest the type of resources that were necessary to grow our system.
Yeah, he cut back a lot of money, a lot of funding.
He lived on cuts, and when he was out exiting, his budget secretary basically said to us, you can no longer cut your way out of this mess that we are in. Right. You have to put new revenue in. So for now, we have a majority Republican majority in both the Senate and the House, who are refusing to put new revenue on the table
for education for the kids.
They don't. They would like to figure out a way for us to live under our current circumstance, even though we know we have a $1.2 billion structural hole. They want to address pension and liquor privatization, which they couldn't get when they controlled both Senate, the House, and a Republican governor. But all of a sudden, they now want to put the onus on a Democratic governor who wasn't elected to do those things. He was elected to solve the structural deficit, and he was very clear he wanted to invest a new tax on Marcellus Shale and make them pay their fair share into our educational system, which he used for educational investment. And so right now we're caught in a political dance that ultimately are going to catch up to our regular everyday people, which is the challenge that me and Ed and others have, because you do have to balance. The fact of the matter is there are real people going to be hurt by us not getting our job done.
So they're kind of like the hold up with certain things going, just
I mean, right now the reality is you have to have revenue generators.
Right.
The $100 million that the Republican Party put on the table for education is not enough. It's just certainly not enough. $100 million wouldn't even cover the cost of, the cost of goods and services that we lost throughout the 2 years. You would still have school districts going into severe depression. Some of them would break. It has to be a situation where you generate some revenue. Marcellus Shale is in our state. They're using our natural resources. So at the end of the day, they should have to pay their fair share like everybody else.
So they don't pay anything?
They pay an impact fee, but they don't pay a statewide tax. What we're talking about is a severance tax. The governor asked for 5%. Whether he gets 5%, that's here nor there, but they should be paying something. And that money will be geared towards education. A lot of it would be geared to early education, pre-K. It would get us another, $14,000 into the pre-K system. So when you think about 14,000 of children starting school early and being able to be prepared when they get to third grade, to where they really look at what is the statistics in regards of jails and education. We want to make sure they're prepared. They're getting an early jump on that. That's important. And Representative Wheatley is right. You got to remove the deficit. You can't have a 1.2 billion deficit and think that you don't have to generate revenue to do that. And there's conversations on the table right now, whether it's the personal income tax, the sales tax, whatever it's going to be, or a combination of the two. There has to be ways to raise money to reduce that deficit until it's gone. So at the end of the day, we got a lot of tough decisions. But here's my problems with the Republicans. For one is that you disrespected the governor, but you said you wanted to do a deal in good faith. How do you create a budget without his input? How do you put a budget in his lap and say, sign it?
So how you
that's
supposed
called,
to do that?
Right, that's called, we're going to do it the way we want to do it and we don't care about it
Regardless.
regardless. So he
respect for you.
vetoed it and he did the right thing by vetoing it. Now they're concerned about, for instance, they're concerned about liquor privatization. Well, we know there's
They've
not an
been
appetite.
trying to get that for a minute.
Right, yeah, but there's big money behind it, but there's no appetite for it. Even in most members of the Republican Party at this point, it could change tomorrow. There's not an appetite for privatization of liquor, maybe modernization, but not privatization. And we should have a concern because, see, you don't have no problem saying that, you know, we need to build more jails, but yet, you know, at the end of the day, you want to put a liquor store almost on every corner and give us an opportunity to have more crime, remove middle-class jobs and put them in poverty, and wondering why we're not improving as a state. At the end of the day, we have to decide what we're going to be known as, and I'm hoping, and I'm with the Wolf team, so that we be a state known for education.
Right.
Exactly.
In education, I see that within our Pittsburgh public schools, now we have, we're supposed to be getting the Wilkinsburg school district in. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, when I got
Because we're already at like bare minimum with our own staff and teachers and children, and being able to get them stuff that we need. That's why you gave them a book bag drive to help them. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about that? Is that going to be a strain on our city?
Well, two, and I'll start with the second to the first. Right now, it's still preliminary talks. And because it's preliminary talks, I think that we did a great job at the state by elected officials staying out of it. And then AIU go ahead and cut a deal between the two different school districts. I got to give Jake Wheatley a lot of credit for that, because he pulled us in to make sure that all sides were heard. Yeah, all sides were heard. So, you know, him pulling us in and being able to, me, him, Jay, the Secretary of Education, Pedro.
How'd that meeting go?
I thought it went well. But at the end of the day, again, it's preliminary. There's some things, putting all these kids in Westinghouse, what does it look like? What is the problem? And more importantly, can we address the needs of the problem through being able to put the right sources in Westinghouse?
Exactly.
So all that right now is still fragile. What I do know about Wilkinsburg, and let me be clear, Wilkinsburg High School, it can't survive. Right. It can't survive based on the numbers that it's having.
So the numbers as far as the kids or the funding?
Both. There's not going to be no more funding, and the kids continue to leave. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to speak too much on it until I know for sure about what's going on. I can speak about on the peripheral of what's going on, but I'm going to hold off until I see the whole plan.
Well, Ed is being diplomatic. I'm not as diplomatic as
Rick, give it to us, Jake.
Because I was very clear when we all started to meet that I thought if the only solution was the Westinghouse solution for Wilkinsburg, that was going to be a problem for me. Because you can't take children who are already academically struggling and challenged, which is what most of these students are, because those who have means or those whose parents were already active, they've moved them out of their system years ago. So you have the most challenged students who are left in Wilkinsburg, and the ones that are at Westinghouse, for the most part, are the challenged students who are in that building, because most of the parents who have a means or who are thinking and moving around, they've moved their kids out of Westinghouse. So you have challenged students on top of challenged students. And there is not enough resources that they are going to put on the table to make sure adequately to provide for those kids to get what they need. So here's my problem. It's the easiest solution because it's the emptiest building that's closest to those children. But actually, because we didn't want to make Penn Hills and Woodland Hills step up to the plate.
Which we asked for.
Okay, so they said no.
They right off the bat.
They don't want them.
And because Pittsburgh, and I have to commend Pittsburgh for at least saying we're willing to take them, which is a good step.
Absolutely.
But you can't do it that way.
You have to come up with a better plan, in my opinion. And I think it's part of our responsibility to make sure, because the
kids are serviced.
It's unfair to Westinghouse, because Westinghouse is going through its own transformation.
They're struggling already, and they're trying to build it up. They're just now, their incoming class of freshmen for the graduating classes in 4 years has finally climbed. They're just now building and getting the kids to come.
So, like you said, why put struggling on top of struggling, and then you're not even going to give us no funding to help?
They're going to give extra funding, but what I'm saying is the amount of funding that was going to go, it would be decent if these kids didn't need as much intense
Instead
support.
of building, but basically stop building a prison pipeline, right?
Right. But that, I do
basically.
I do want to say this, when we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I want to say, historically speaking, this is one of the best times for black politics, in my opinion. Now, I'm relatively young in the life cycle of this, but there was a time where you didn't have the 2 state reps who were African American and the 2 city council people who were African American who talked to each other.
And come together. And can sit down at the table.
I have to commend Ed for when he came in, people thought we were going to be at loggerheads, but we sat down, we talked.
And they were looking for that too.
They were looking for that because that's how you
reason.
keep it. That's how you keep us disempowered from a larger
distraction.
scale. Same thing with Daniel. Same thing with Ricky. They have been open to communicating and at least talking amongst ourselves to try to figure out how we move
Okay,
together.
amongst y'all, okay.
Yeah, amongst ourselves.
Not
Look,
amongst
we
the
all
community.
have skill sets that probably are positives and negatives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But while we're in these offices, we don't
have
just
to.
represent ourselves. We represent broader
represent
groups of people. So if we can't talk in a room, and they know that we can't talk in a room, they use that against us.
Right.
What can y'all do for the community?
Or be honest,
Or the trust.
They-
Like he said, can you trust us?
they get mad
I
when
trust
we do.
my state rep.
Exactly.
I
They
trust my
get,
rep.
they get mad when we do, but again, here's the catch, and you know, a lot of this comes with being. Listen, you know, I said it earlier. I'm not into being the leader. I don't have that type of low self-esteem. I'd rather be part of a leadership team, and so having Jake at the state gave me a lot of good information. For instance, I was new. So going to be able to say, Jake, I think I want to do X, Y, and Z, and getting the wisdom. And you can talk to smart people all day, but they never built a bridge. You know what I'm saying? But if you can talk to wise people that know how to get it done, you understand what I'm saying? It helps you to be able to do what you want to do. And a lot of the reason why I believe, and this is my personal opinion, that we got an attention on Westinghouse is not only just Walkersburg, but we had Pedro come here. And he spoke at Westinghouse.
Sure did a couple months
And
ago.
he got to talk to the principal. And when Jake called the first meeting with me, Jay, and we got to sit down, he was familiar with Westinghouse. And I agree with Jake. We don't want to put poverty on top of poverty.
Right.
What we got to try to find and do is find the best method for these kids.
And a
Now,
common ground.
here's the catch too. Where it begins don't mean it stays.
Gotta put
Because they've
that
also talked about later on, if it's feasible, taking those that's 15235 that's in Walkersburg and moving them into Penn Hills, or if it's 15146 that's over here, moving them into Woodland Hills, you know, and then you still have a charter situation. Kids are still gonna go to charters.
schools, yeah.
You know, we gotta get away from this whole mentality that charters are going to disappear. They're not.
No.
They're not gonna
Gotta deal with
disappear.
it.
So the key becomes, how do you make public and charter equitable without trying to say one has to leave, because the amount of the money that's in charters now is not that's not gonna be permitted. It's not gonna happen. So the conversation has to change of how we work together to get things done. You know, the whole thing about we don't want charters no more, that conversation may have been good in its infancy stage, but now it has matured, and now I think charters have been around for 10, 15 years. At that level, and the amount of money that's in it, they're not going nowhere. So the key is, how do you make it equitable for public and charters to coexist? And until we get to where it's equitable, we're always going to have this conversation. So that's a part of education, but that's not to me, it's not a problem as much as it is an opportunity. And I think that's why you got to look at Wolf's plan and talk about a severance tax. Look at Wolf's plan and talk about a personal income tax. I mean, these type of conversations, I'm not saying they're comfortable, but they're really needed in order to grow Pennsylvania.
Woo, that was great.
And you know what? And I'll just like to say, once again, thank you so much for coming.
Taking your time,
Taking
out of
your
y'all
time
busy
out.
schedule.
My 150 texts, like, is you coming? You know, I really appreciate both of y'all for coming and having this discussion, and to letting people know it is good to sit around and have a discussion collectively, come to conclusions, you know what I mean, and come to get some results in the discussion. And we can always, at the end of the day, agree to disagree. And I would like to thank you again, State Representative Ed Gainey and
Thank
State
you.
Representative Jake Wheatley. And I hope you'll be able to shave your beard soon. And they got the budget going on. You know, because I don't know, you're kind of scaring me a little
I'm
bit.
sorry about the scaring.
I don't know, but if you have it during Christmas, maybe I can get my cups.
Oh,
I'm gonna get some of these
We gotta go eat
cookies
these
and,
cookies, eat the 805 my cookies.
Don't be fine.
Okay, and I want to thank my co-host Amber Salone for helping me today with today's issues. Make sure you check me out and watch soon. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. This is Monique Flowers. That's me with today's issues.
peace.